Hello friends, welcome to Data Pandit. So today we are going to talk about AWS project. So in many a times, whenever we go for AWS specific or AWS architecture interview, so they would be expecting, from the candidate to have a hands-on experience, or if they have built end-to-end project for a specific use case. So in this project, we are going to create a project wherein we are going to solve a practical use case. So the use case is we have a streaming data coming in from, uh, you know, streaming data coming in from the source, and then that streaming data we have to analyze using the kind of analytical application or data warehousing application like Amazon Redshift. So data probably can come a real time, and the real time analysis also can be done using the Redshift. So we have to capture the streaming data, and then this also can be, you know, be in a different format like XML format. I have chosen as it is an XML because most of the CSV and JSON data is easily integrated with the different languages and platform, but XML, we need to parse it. We need to have a custom parser to parse the XML data, and then uh, it can be read into the or feed into the different platform and application, or you know then it will be easy to uh, transport and store. Okay, so so in this case, we are going to use the Amazon management console. The alternate way is to create a cloud for formation template to make it automated. But this time we are going to resource each and every resource from our side using the AWS management console, and then try to stream the data or ingest the data, streaming data into the various you know various AWS services. Okay, and then ultimately we are going to analyze the data using the Amazon Redshifts. So to make it fairly simple, and also it addresses each and every steps in a good way. So I have a step. Let's go through the steps one by one. So the architecture looks like this. So we have a you know data producer. So in this case, we are producing XML data, and then our Amazon Kinesis data stream I have chosen as a because this AWS service is used to read the real-time data stream from the various data sources. Okay, so it is very scalable, and you know uh, and it's a very real time basically. So that's when we have chosen the Amazon Kinesis data stream. So once the data is in their Kinesis data stream, so that can be read by the Amazon Kinesis data warehouse. So data warehouse will take the data from the data stream. Okay, and we know that Amazon Kinesis data stream can hold the data at least for 24 hours, and we can extend the retention period to 7 days. Like so, once the data available in Kinesis data stream, the Kinesis data firehouse will be uh, using that data. So the source for the data firehouse application would be Kinesis data stream, and the destination would be Amazon Redshift via S3 bucket. So why is because I am going to use the S3 bucket for the storage of the source records as it is for further archival and retention period, and also the modified data. So I'm going to use the Lambda function which will be called from a Kinesis data stream, which will transfer transform the data from XML to pipe delimited, and that pipe delimited data would be going into the Amazon Redshift via intermediate S3 bucket. So this is configuration we are going to do, and what we need in this configuration. Let's talk about that first. So first of all, I mean, we will need every AWS services which is uh, highlighted in this pictorial view, and and then we are trying to put in the data into the Kinesis data stream, and we'll see the data if it reaches up to the end, and then I'll try to uh, you know fire the queries on particular those data. Okay. So to accomplish this project, we have to prepare the S3 bucket. So we will be using two buckets, intermediate S3 bucket, which will be used as a destination for the Amazon Kinesis data warehouse. Then transform data it will be placed, and also the XML data whichever received from the Kinesis data stream, as it is going to be placed here. Okay. So we have to have two S3 buckets. Okay, let's go to the Amazon management console and see what bucket we have prepared. So I have created two buckets. Okay, datapandit.com is the my source bucket. Okay, and backup bucket is going to be the backup uh, backup bucket RDS. So these two buckets I'm going to use for this project. Okay, so it's a simple bucket. You create the bucket, and you just give the name of the bucket, source bucket and target bucket. I mean, whatever name you can give, and this is going to be very simple. There is no specific things we need to take care in this. So okay, then we have to create the IAM role. So this is very important. So this IAM role, because if you look at the this architecture, so the Lambda function, so Kinesis data warehouse have to have access to S3, okay, and then the Redshift, and then it has to be invoking the Lambda function, right? So the Lambda execution role, and then it has to read the data from Kinesis data streams, right? So these are all application. We will be creating a role, which common role basically. So in practical or production like projects, we can have a restricted least privilege access role, but currently let's create one role which has access to everything. I mean everything in the sense of these resources, Lambda execution access, and the one more thing is there. It's not appearing here in the pictorial view, which is AWS CloudWatch logs. So that is another resource we will be using for logging and monitoring purpose. Okay, so that also the role would be such that it will be having a Lambda execution role, which is required for executing this Lambda function. And second is S3 bucket, because it's going to put the data into the S3 bucket, and also the Redshift cluster, because it's a final destination is AWS Redshift cluster, and the CloudWatch logs. So because intermediate data, after reading the data from the Kinesis data stream, this Firehouse would be calling the Lambda. So we need to debug and monitor, right, using the CloudWatch logs. So it's easy to debug and monitor. Therefore, we have to have the CloudWatch log, connected, and this role has to have access, right? And then the Kinesis access. So this because it's going to read from the Kinesis data stream. That's whenever you attach a role for Firehouse data Firehouse, then this role has to have access to all these services. Therefore, we are going to create the role. Okay, so let's see what role I have created. So if you go to the IAM management console, let me go to the IAM management console. role. I think let me see what role I have created. I'll just see in the Redshift or maybe over here. So if I look at the configuration, because I have everything configured because it takes time, therefore I have configured every thing already. So where is the role? Demo KDS, right? So I'll show you what demo KDS. So this is the role. So currently it has, I'm S3 full access, CloudWatch, Redshift, Kinesis, watch logs, execution role, and Kinesis execution role, right? So these roles, it has, but in real time or in a practical project, you can refine the access to this role. Okay. Multiple, we don't have to, give the full access or just need to give the, write access or read access, like, put object and list object, those kind of access we can give. Otherwise, the rest of the access can be removed. So, okay, this is about the role, and then we need to create the Redshift cluster. So this is also, let's go to the Redshift, this is the Redshifts, okay. This I have created already, the Redshift cluster. So I would be, walking you through what specific I have done. So do you, go to the, let's go to here. You just create the cluster. I will just walk you through what I have done. So I have given the name of the cluster. Then I have chosen the free trial. Okay, and then I have give the admin username as AWS user and give the password, and then created the cluster. That's all. After that, what I have done is I have went into here. My cluster was created in some time, and then I open this cluster, and then I go to the properties, and then you have to make this um, this Redshift cluster publicly accessible. First of all, if you go to the network and security settings, you have a publicly accessible enabled. So by default, it doesn't come enabled. You need to go to the edit, and then you have this option over here, right? Publicly accessible. So you need to make it on and then save it. So that's one thing you have to take care of in this case, because it has to have access from outside, because KDF, right, Kinesis Data Firehose, is going to accessing this, therefore. Second thing we need to take care of is you need to go to the security group. So this security group, so as I have listed, right? So if you make it public accessible, second is add security group inbound rule to allow traffic from the KDF, Kinesis Data Firehouse, public IP for App South one. So for region based, there is an public IP associate, CEDAR, not IP, CEDAR, CIDR. CEDAR is associated to the KDF for a region specific. For this App South one Mumbai region, this CEDAR is, associated with the KDF. So to you need to tell security group of AWS Redshift is that don't block the request or coming in from this IP address or this this header, which is residing in the AP South one, and coming in from the Kinesis Data Firehouse. Therefore, go to the security group, go to the inbound rule, edit inbound rule, and give the you know security group rule all traffic custom this IP address. So this IP address should not be blocked, and then save it. Okay. So that's when you allow the access from the KDF to the Amazon Redshift. So what we have done so far is, like, we are in process of creating the Redshift cluster. Okay. Then what you need to do is, then you need to create a table, you know the table which is compatible with the data, whatever the data you are going to ingest from the Kinesis Data Warehouse to the target in Redshift, that table you are going to create. So I have created the create table employee. So this has these many columns: first name, last name, phone number, primary address, secondary primary address, state, zip, etc., etc., and secondary address. And therefore, this is the my create table statement. And you go to the Redshift and go to the query editor, and then these category, date, event, Firehouse, not Firehouse, I think listing, sales, and all these table will come by default, because this whenever you create the Redshift cluster, so it comes with the default default warehouse, or the default some default tables are getting loaded automatically as part of creation, so that you don't worry about. But I have created my employee table because I am going to populate this table. So I have a query. So just you know just create this structure over here, so because we are going to ingest the data like employee data, right? Let's say, for example, okay. So I have created this table. This is the step whenever you are creating the Redshift cluster, you need to take over and then associate the role created in step 3 with Redshift. So whenever you create, I think if you go to the cluster, so probably let me check. So if it is an properties, so that we have done database configuration. So database configuration, you need to give that is already there. Okay, networking security we have already accomplished, and then IAM role. So command access role. So this is another role. Okay. Okay, I think this role is not required to be associated with. So this by default role is coming Amazon Redshift commands access role. So let me check what is. So it this role has come automatically. Command full action. So customer manage. This role comes automatically whenever you create the Redshift cluster. Okay. So I think we do not need to have associate that role with this Redshift cluster. Okay. So that I have removed this step, and then so our Redshift cluster is mostly created. Everything is there in this. Now what we have to do is, now the next step. So create a Kinesis data stream. So this, if you look at the structure architecture, we are going to create the Amazon Kinesis data stream. So that would be, we will use the date put record functionality to putting the record into the Kinesis data stream. So we need to create the Kinesis data stream. I have created the Kinesis data stream. So this is simple. You just create the data stream. I have created the on demand, give the name, nothing else is required to do, and then create the data streams. So this is going to be, a kind of bucket. I mean, it's going to be placeholder for the data coming in from the outside applications, right? So it's an to store the data and retain hold the data, right, in a scalable and the real time way. So this is this, okay. Now next resources is create the Lambda function which will be invoked through Kinesis data warehouse when the record arrives in the Kinesis data stream. So what we need to do is, if you look at the architecture, so as soon as we Amazon Kinesis data warehouse receive the XML message from the Kinesis data stream, it has to call the Lambda function, which will be transforming the XML data into the PyLP delimited data. So that configuration we are going to do. Okay, so for that we need to create the Lambda function. So I have created the Lambda function. So if you look at the Lambda, so this is a simple Lambda function. If you create a function, it's not a big thing. So we have created many times the Lambda stream RDS. Okay, but the code is important because the code which I have written is like it will be reading the events and then reading the data, the payload, parsing the payload from XML to CSV, and then again it is going to be encoding that pipe delimited data and then giving the output record. Okay, returning the output record. So this is going to the this Lambda function will do the accepting the payload, okay, which is coming in from the event. Whenever the when event is going to generated is like as soon as the data would be placed in the Kinesis data warehouse, this Lambda function will be called, and then it will XML parse the data. So you can go through this. So this function I can provide into the notes, or maybe I can place into the GitHub, and then you can check it upon. Now, so this Lambda function we have done. Okay. So let's see what is what function can we customize. So this function we have customized to parsing the data. Actually, in number of ways we can do that. So we can use the Boto3 library and build multiple thing. I mean, as and when required. So created Kinesis data warehouse stream. So this is a important thing actually. So because we are going to configure multiple things. So which I have created, already Kinesis data stream, delivery stream. So if you go to the delivery stream, here you have KDF, actually Kinesis data warehouse. So let me create a new delivery stream, let's say. Okay. So what you need to do is uh, you need to give the source. So because I have a source as a Amazon Kinesis data stream. Okay. So give it like this, and then destination you specify as a Amazon Redshift. So as soon as you do that, it will be asking the source settings. Source settings, you can browse the source settings, like we have a Kinesis data stream available that you have already created in the step number above, right? Then choose it, and then this name will automatically come. If you want to modify it, do it. Otherwise, let it be like this. Okay, and then transform record. So you enable the transformation because we are going to use the Lambda function to transform the things. Then you browse the Lambda function. If you do that, you will have the list of functions. So whichever functions you are going to use, you can configure it, choose it and choose it, right? Then you most probably don't have to do anything. And then destination settings. Say, what is our destination? Destination is our Redshift, right? So Redshift. So you, because we have already created the Redshift, so you have to give the Redshift. Okay, you browse it, or you refresh it, or you need to create the clusters. It will allow the it will go to the dashboard and it will allow to use create the cluster. Otherwise, you can create the cluster first and then it will be listed over here and then select it. Okay, as soon as you do that, you will have username, password, and all. Okay, then you give the database name because we have a dev database, right? If you go to the Redshift cluster, and if you go here, cluster, you go to the Redshift cluster, and if you go to the properties, then you have the database, database name and user, right? So that whenever you stream, whenever you prepare the Kinesis data warehouse, then you need to give table name. Also, we need to give employee, like. So you need to give the employee as a table. Then columns, the list of columns you can give. So in our case, the list of columns are like, if you go to the query editor, these are the list of column. So you don't have to give the this one actually. The data type, you just give the first name, comma, last name, comma, phone, comma, like that. Okay, so this you have to give the list of name columns, right? Then intermediate S3 bucket, it is asking for the bucket which is going to be used as a via to the Redshift. So which bucket we are using? We are using the datapandit.com bucket. Okay, and then if you want to give the prefix, otherwise it's an optional. Okay, so this bucket is getting used in between the Redshift cluster and the Kinesis data warehouse. This bucket I'm talking about, datapandit.com. Okay, and then next it is this is optional, this is also optional, you don't have to give. Okay, so retry duration you kept it 3600 seconds, that is okay. And then what is what? Okay, over here, backup setting. If you do the okay, so backup setting, enable source data backup. So we are going to enable the so this is the backup. Whenever you transfer the data, So as soon as we receive the data into the Kinesis data forums, it is asking for backing up the data. So let's do that. I mean, you browse the data and then you give the bucket name. Okay, you choose it and you list it. Or you want to give prefix name, you can give, otherwise you can remove it from here. Okay, that is an optional again. Advanced settings, if you do, so you can create the role, because otherwise you can choose the role, do it and then give the role as KDS, this one. Okay, and then create the delivery stream. So if you do that, so you have everything you have done. So this is important. So if you look at the steps over here, we have created the make the source as data stream, allow record transforming from XML to we have chosen the Lambda function to transform, make the destination as a Redshift cluster, configure the source and backup bucket. So this all we have done, and then create the also this is important to have, what is what this existing IAM role. So you create the IAM role and you specify, because this IAM role has multiple access, everything it will be doing. It will be reading the Kinesis data stream. It will be accessing the Redshift cluster to put the data, and then S3 bucket as well, and then the CloudWatch. So everything this role has access to. If you don't do that, then it is not going to be working. So I am canceling it because I have done my creation of the delivery stream already, KDF. So if you look at this KDF, so I will show you what is what. Okay, in already created KDF. So I this name automatically came, so we don't have to do. This is ARN. Okay, and if you look at the test, if you want to test it demo with the demo data, so you can test it, but it is in it's not able to customize it. So therefore I did not do that testing and all, because my employee data is different in structure. Okay, so if you look at the, this is monitoring, so everything will be coming, where did, how many records had been read, on when did the this Kinesis data read the record from Kinesis data stream, other operations, whether the record has been successfully, processed, whether the data went into the delivery Redshift, what is the, delivery S3 bucket, backup, and all those things. These monitoring is very important. And configuration, if you look at the configuration, then we have a source setting. The Kinesis data stream is whichever we have created in the data stream, is an actual data stream. And if you look at the transform, I have specified Lambda and RDS, Python based Lambda function. Then destination setting is Amazon Redshift. I have kept the column names, comma delimited, then user, and database name, Redshift cluster, and copy command was optional, so I did not do anything. Intermediate S3 bucket I have specified, I did not do any prefix. A backup setting I have given enabled, and then backup bucket name, and I have kept the source records as an prefix. And encryption I did not do anything more in that. CloudWatch logging I have enabled. Permission I have taken the IAM role, which I have created as customized IAM role, which has multiple access. So I think we have done most of the things. All the steps we have done, we have configured every resource which is required to have this structure working. Okay. Now this project should be working. So what last thing we have to have is, we need to stream that, ingest the data into the Amazon Kinesis data stream. So the Amazon Kinesis data stream, we don't have to ingest it. We just create and put in the record from the Kinesis producer library, KPL. So if you have a Kinesis producer library, so use the EC2 instance, you create the Python based program, you do that and then put the data into that. So that also can be done. Or you use the CLI command, so put the record into the Kinesis data stream, or you try to put the record through some Python program that we are going to see correct now. So now I have created, the last thing in the this project is, the last seventh step is create a ingestion stream using Python Jupyter block. Okay, Jupyter notebook. Okay, so go to the Jupyter notebook. So I have gone to Jupyter notebook, gone to my project. So I have named this this Python program. So what I have done is I am using this Kinesis data stream which I have created, and I am taking the Kinesis Boto3 client, okay, getting the object of Kinesis data stream, and then putting the record. So this is my XML data record, okay. So if you look at, let's see, I mean, how the record looks like. So you can do, you know, as big or as complex as, required, as many records, So let's see how this payload, looks like. So this is an XML. So let me go to the XML viewer, XML viewer online. XML viewer editor. Let's see if it is coming. Okay. I think this is not the XML viewer. Yeah, code beautify. Okay. So I have done this and review. Okay. So if you look at this, so if you look at this, I have this. I have two employees. Okay. So these are the XML data. Okay. I have just you know view the data in XML. So I have first name, last name, all address, phone number. These are the this one, different fields. And then the values of these fields are like all addresses. So addresses, different addresses, primary address and secondary address, and then phone, and then employee, second employee Prakutti, and okay, then addresses, okay. So these are basically two records, as two XML record basically. So we can have a file also, we can have a multiple record also, okay. We can have a stream, data reading from some stream and putting into the Kinesis data stream like this program. And now I will be running this program. Okay, I have run this. So and then I'm calling this put stream function from here. So you don't go about this. I mean, this is not required, I think. Okay, this I have used for some other purpose. This function basically in earlier. So basically the payload is this one. So I'm just printing payload and putting the client Kinesis that client dot put record. I'm using this payload basically. I'm not using my stream name. I need to give data payload, and then thing ID I'm using as a partition key. So if you do that, so this data will go into the Kinesis data stream first. Okay. So let's go to CloudWatch logs. So if you go to the CloudWatch dashboard, so you go to the log group. So you will be seeing the log group which are named as a Lambda function. Lambda stream RDS. This LMDA underscore stream underscore RDS is my Lambda function. So if you click on this, you will in some time you will be receiving the data over here. So 226, 1233. So it will take some time, I think. Yeah, it has come. So if you look at the time, I look at 1329. So this is 129, right? So this data has come. So if you look at here, so I think everything is went successfully. So successfully processed one record. If you look at the Lambda function, right? So it has come here, successfully processed one record. It is parsed already. It is written the record into the Firehose. So go to here, and if you look at so this is an encoded data actually. Whatever we pass as an XML, so it is an parsed and encoded data, and then everything looks good over here. If you look at this, so if you go to there, so you will see two stream, right? So my first stream is from earlier run. So this is my latest one. So if you go to here, now you will see this is successfully done. So now I need to go to the Kinesis data Firehose. So go to Kinesis data delivery stream and see the monitoring actually. So it will take a bit of time to reach the data into the Redshift cluster basically. So currently, let's see, I mean, if we received the data. So I'm just running the employee query, okay? Select all from. So database name is dev, and then my user is AWS user. So if I run this query, so currently the data is did not come yet, okay, in the employee data. So I said like it will take some time. So see the monitoring of Kinesis Data Firehouse, okay. So looks like where are we? I think it's an earlier graph actually. So let's wait for some time. I think what is the time over here? 5:50, right? So 5:50 was my earlier run. I don't remember that. 5:45 or 5:50. 7:5. Okay. I'll go to those three buckets. Okay. Let me check whether we received the data over here. So I will go to the data pandit.com and then I'll go to the manifest 230226 7th. I think we did not receive the data yet. Yeah, this was earlier run, I guess. So let's wait for some time. So meanwhile, I mean, we'll see. I mean, what we have done. So these are the different services we have configured, right? Query. So later we will see the data into the query editor. Okay. So in this way, you can enhance this application. Amazon Redshift again can be for dashboarding purpose. It can be connected to the quick site. Okay, AWS quick site. There is another services for creating the dashboard that also can be integrated and can be done the dashboarding things. Okay, real time dashboard can be created on top of it, and also we can utilize the AWS CloudWatch to do more in the sense of to do more extended or extensive logging so that we can dig into everything. And let's see, did we receive anything on top of it? Yeah, we have received the data. So this was the datapandit.com, right? So let's see. I will download. So this, this was not there earlier, right? So this one. So this 08, right? So if you go to here, then you will have this file. So this file will be containing the data, whichever, the transformed data. Okay. Before going into the Redshift. So we download this. So let's see. I mean, I'll just show in editor and just go to here. Okay, this is manifest file. Okay, so it will be containing the metadata. Okay, let me go to the another folder which is 223, right? It did not come, is it? So I think it is on here. Okay, let me check which one it is. So I'm not sure why it has created 08 there and not here. Let me 226, 226. I think it is in one of file which is in the 7th only. So let me check this 133, right? So I think this is the file. So if you download this file, I have downloaded this file. So if you look at this data, you will see the pipe delimited data over here. Okay, because this is in a destination bucket. This is in a destination bucket. Okay. I mean, if you look at here, so this is the bucket. So before going to the Redshift, it is here. Okay. Now let's look at the another bucket. Let's look at the buckets basically. So source record, this one, and I think this also is the same thing. So yeah, 133. I think this is the data. Let's download it and see the data over here. So if you look at this data, this will be in XML data. Okay. So whatever we passed in. So this is the as the same as source. So I will just close this one and this one. So we have seen that we have seen the manifest data, which is the metadata, right? And we have seen the destination data, and we have seen the source data itself. So S3 bucket we have seen already. So that configuration is working fine. We have seen the CloudHost log for AWS Lambda, so that is also transforming properly. So it is proved that, I mean, data is coming in from the Kinesis data stream. We have put the data over here. It is coming to Firehose. It is calling the Lambda, and it is putting into these buckets. And now we'll see the data into the Amazon Redshift. So before going into that, we will see the Kinesis data stream, okay, delivery stream. So see this and open it. Go to the monitoring basically. So earlier my data was like, so this, see this point, right? 7:55. I think this time is because it's in a different time, UTC time zone and etc. So if you look at the Redshift, right? So this is S3, and then there is an Amazon, where it is Redshift. So if you look at this dot, right? So this is 7:58 or 7:59, right? So earlier only this was there, 5:75 or something, right? So it means the delivery to the Redshift has been done. Let's go to the Amazon Redshift clusters. So earlier we've seen and we have executed this query. So data was not there. So let's query the data now. So if you look at this data, so I have received the data, right? So, so this is working, right? This end-to-end thing is working fine. So this is how we can create, small projects, and in this way we can learn different AWS services, and also how AWS main is like to configure the Kinesis data warehouse and access between these resources, the IAM role basically, and the some stuff in Lambda and all. Okay, so this is all about it. So thank you so much, and please subscribe my channel and share it with others. Thank you so much. We are going to see other AWS projects which are kind of complex in nature, like this. So it has multiple multiple Lambda functions and Redshift, and DynamoDB also there in that picture. So also the other login and authorization services like Amazon Cognitive. So this is my second project, okay, that we are going to do. So the notes and these steps I may place in my GitHub, or maybe you know in some document and place for access. Okay, thank you so much.